welcome to the first episode of Film Etiquette. In this episode, we're going to be shooting a couple rolls of Cinestill 800T in medium format. And I'm going to be using my new, to me, Mamiya 645. I just picked this camera up. I think it's really awesome. I've put a few rolls through it, and I gotta say, it's pretty sharp. The depth of field is really great, and I think at the price point, it's probably one of the best medium format cameras that you can get. So let's check it out. So a little bit about the Mamiya 645. It's a modular system. So on this one, the finder actually comes off. Here is your prism here. It's a split prism, and on this model, I've actually got the split is at a diagonal, which I think really helps with focusing. So the finder, this is the standard finder. It's got a built-in meter, which as far as I can tell is pretty spot on when it comes to exposure. And it's nice and bright, and you get a good view through it. It's also a interchangeable lens system, as many other SLRs are. And something that's interesting about this camera is that it is a medium format SLR. Typically, medium format cameras are rangefinders. There's a few SLRs on the market, and a lot of, I know the RB and the RZ actually have different systems where the film back pops out of the back of the camera, and you have a dark slide, and you take your shot through that. But the 645, actually, this is your cartridge here. You load this up with film, and your shutter is right there in the back. A cloth shutter, pop it in, close your door, and it works like a regular SLR. So it's a pretty great camera. They come with a long line of lenses. There's a lot of lenses out there for this camera. I'm currently using a 80 millimeter Mamiya Secor C 2.8, which 2.8 on medium format is pretty nice. You get some nice creamy bokeh, nice depth of field, and it's pretty tack sharp through most of the apertures. So yeah, that's the Mamiya 645. Cinestill 800T is actually a motion picture stock. And as far as I know, it is actually Kodak Vision 3 that has had the remjet layer removed from the back. Now, the remjet layer was designed for motion picture stocks to help transport through the motion picture cameras because the film moves at a very high speed, and it's also an anti-halation layer. So what the guys at Cinestill did is they found a way to pre-remove the remjet layer, which is great because it allows us to get this film developed at any normal lab. And for a lot of people who aren't processing their own film at home, this is really helpful. I personally process my own black and white, but I haven't tackled color yet. So to be able to take this to my local lab, get it developed and back in 2 days is a really good thing. So kind of my thoughts on the Cinestill 800T. Number one, this stuff is gorgeous. Color-wise, it's as you see the world, in my opinion. A lot of stocks like Portra 400 tend to make things a little more maybe washed out and softer looking. Something like Fuji Pro 400H tends to give you colder, more muted tones. And I think those films are great. They definitely have their times and places to be used, and I shoot both of them all the time. But this is the first time I've shot the Cinestill 800T, and I was really impressed. I shot 2 rolls, and I shot them both at night in beautiful downtown Cleveland. and I was really impressed by the results that I got. Shadow detail is huge on this film. You can, meter for the shadows and shoot your midtones, and your highlights might blow just slightly, but your shadow detail will be there. In a few of the shots, I actually picked up shadow detail on buildings off in the distance that I didn't meter for, and it's still there. So the latitude on this film is great, which is probably why they use it for motion pictures. Couple other thoughts I had on the film. Something that I may have not liked is because the remjet is removed and the anti-halation is gone, around some bright lights you'll get a little red orb, but it's not necessarily a bad thing, and it almost adds a bit more of artistic effect, I think. So yeah, this film is really great. I think it's probably pretty versatile. Indoors, mixed lighting, nighttime photography, which if you're into film, you know that night photography can be a little difficult. Often you have to bring your shadows up so much that you end up bringing out a lot of grain and it's not too hot looking. But on the Cinestill 800T, I didn't have that issue. So I highly recommend that you try this film. Get out there and shoot. All right, thanks for joining us for the first episode of Film Etiquette. I want to give a big thanks to my cameraman, James, who is behind the camera. Make sure you check out his Instagram, which I will link below. He's a really, really good portrait photographer, and he's doing some great work. Also check out my Instagram, which I will also link below. And don't forget to subscribe and like the video. And if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them, and I will absolutely get back to you. Thanks. We'll see you soon.